Chapter 081, Maya's Dilemma. Sophia had put a lot of work into her convincing skill and managed to talk Eve and Theo into meeting her parents even though they were quite reluctant about it after learning that they were humans. Thankfully, they had nothing in common with the humans in the new world, and the blonde made them agree, which brought her one step closer to getting her family to her new home, which was a much better place, in her opinion. Well, that was something. Sophia and Maya were back in the cottage, and the tiger let out a tired sigh as she got comfortable on one of the sofas in the living room. I think it went well, though. She smiled at the cat girl next to her on the sofa. Yeah. She nodded. I hadn't expected for them to buy your backgrounds so fast. I didn't give them much of a choice, after all. She scratched her cheek. I'm just happy they love me so much and also accepted my past. You have to try much harder for them to dislike you. She smiled back at the blonde. You have completely won them over. Ehe. Sophia liked that. I look forward to seeing how you fare with my parents. Maya's expression changed. Somehow, I hadn't thought about that part yet. You better start coming up with ideas, then. I need to have an emergency meeting with Chloe as soon as possible. Why? The tiger looked confused. She's in the same situation as I am. She's dating Steph. Right. It took a while before Sophia understood. True. She'd also have to meet them if I get them to visit us. I need to make sure to have popcorn ready that day. Steph and I are going to have an amazing time when that happens. Not helping. Maya got loud. I wasn't intending to be helpful. She just smiled at her. The cat girl rolled her eyes. Well, I guess I earned that after doing the same during the conversation with my parents earlier. Absolutely. Sophia just looked at her. In all seriousness, though, you should be fine. Once you make my mother believe you're actually real, everything will be alright. What's that supposed to mean? My mother still isn't entirely convinced that I have a partner. I mean, she hasn't seen much of the new me yet, and past Sophia indeed was too much of a wreck to be in a relationship. I see. Maya could follow her logic. Well, that shouldn't be too hard. I mean, it's kinda obvious that I exist. Slightly obvious, yeah. The tiger couldn't argue with that. Parents do be parents, though. A good counter. She nodded. I'm so envious that you met my parents without knowing who they were and managed to bond with them before being able to get nervous over the fact they're the parents of your partner. Ehe. Sophia's voice turned smug. Every once and then, even I get lucky. You've been nothing but lucky since coming to this world. The cat girl raised her voice. And don't you dare to say anything against that. You've claimed to be unlucky many times in the past, but it's so not the case. I'm not lucky all the time. She still had to complain. Tell me one event where you weren't stupidly lucky. I can tell you at least 3. Sure. Maya didn't believe her. The first time I met this world's humans. The second time. The third time when I went to war against them. She went silent. I love it when I make you speechless. Sophia gave her a cheeky grin. I like it more when you make me scream. Maya wasn't going to lose a contest of being cheeky. The tiger also went silent for a second. Yeah, that's indeed better. Alright, with our evening activity being decided on, can we focus for a little longer? She winked at her before looking slightly more serious again. Who's the one that went off topic? Both of us. Fair enough. Sophia couldn't argue with that. So you really plan to bring the rest of your family over, huh? I want them to consider it at the very least. The blonde nodded. Some quality of life issues aside, the world we live in now is much better, after all. Healthcare alone is leagues ahead. Sure, Earth has developed some amazing medicine for many illnesses, a lot of which humanity has created themselves, but let's not go there. Anyway, medicine may be great, but here, You can just magic away everything that could cause harm. There are basically no dangers to your health. To be fair, Maya scratched her cheek. Even here, we normally rely on medicine, too. Usually, healing magic is only practiced by a select few and only used when nothing else works. We constantly use healing magic on next to everything, though. The tiger tilted her head. Because our group is far from the norm in this world. That's true. She saw her point. My family would have 24/7 full and free Sophia healthcare, though. Steph healthcare is a backup, too. What a good daughter. Maya was proud of her. Well, you also turned the back of my father into that of a 20-year-old again, so I guess that's to be expected. Your parents are also family, so of course, it's to be expected. I can see why they love you so much. Ehe. It will still be hard work to convince your parents to come to this world, though. After all, I assume that they have a lot more to give up than you and Steph had. Yeah. Sophia nodded. Not to mention the big issue of them being humans. That far from makes it easier, too. That's putting it lightly. Still, the cheap excuse of them being hidden if they play along with it might just work. I'll suggest that to them once we talk about the situation. The blonde also thought that it was a viable option. For starters, I'll just show them my domain and bring your parents there, too. That way, they can get to know each other in a safe and undisturbed place. My parents also get a first feel of a different world without having the need to pretend to be something or someone else. That sounds like a good base for a plan to me. I think so, too. Sophia agreed. It's a good thing that our plans always work the way we intended them to be, as well. Ahaha, the cat girl awkwardly scratched her cheek. The couple talked about it for a little bit longer until the other girls returned from their little trip to the crystallized forest and joined them in the living room. We're back. Steph energetically announced their arrival. That forest looked so amazing. My next project is definitely going to be something fantasy-like, too. Important news, Chloe. Ignoring the dog, Maya immediately addressed the pink fox. Oh? She tilted her head. What's up? Sophia wants to talk her parents into visiting this place. Let's go. Steph reacted first. Great idea, sis. She smiled at the blonde. Whatever the plan is, I'm in. I'll help in any way possible. She also wanted them to be here. I knew I could count on you. Sophia just gave her a thumbs up. That surely is going to be interesting. Chloe nodded a few times before looking at the cat girl again. Why did you address me, though? She didn't understand that part. If their parents will visit, it means that we're going to meet them, too. She raised her voice a little. I'm looking forward to it. The fox still didn't see the issue. That means we're going to meet the parents of our girlfriends. Maya got even louder while she repeated herself. Oh. She finally understood her intention, but then tilted her head again. So? Aren't you nervous about that? The cat girl couldn't believe her reaction. That's a big deal, isn't it? Is it? Chloe only got more confused. I mean, okay, it's been a little while since I've last seen them, but they like me, and I'm a big fan of them, too. Yeah. She hadn't expected that reply. You've already met them? Yes. The fox nodded. Steph dragged me to the old world roughly 2 weeks after we started dating. We've met 2 or 3 more times since then, too. Seriously? Maya stared at the dog girl. Why are you so fast with everything you do? If you know, you know. She smiled back at her. No need to waste time. To be fair, Sophia joined the conversation. She and Chloe started dating not even a week after meeting. Waiting 2 more after that to meet the family seems reasonable to me. Thank you very much, sis. Nothing about that is reasonable. The cat girl thought otherwise. It's good that we didn't have to do any of this, huh? Anna, who had been just listening until now, smiled at Ari next to her. Yes. The jaguar thought so, too. We've grown up knowing each other's parents, after all. She seemed very glad about that fact. So I'm seriously the only one here who hasn't met my partner's parents? Yup. All five nodded. No way. Maya didn't like that revelation. You really need to step up your game there. Steph smirked at her. Ugh. She wasn't a fan of her smug sass. Sophia, go get your parents right now. The cat girl had enough. Good job on riling her up. The blonde sounded impressed as she looked at the girls. You took away all her nervousness, too. Thank you very much for that. There's no way that was their intention. It sure was. All four of them simply smiled at the loud cat girl. Anyway, I'll go and visit them soon. Sophia faced her. Ellie's birthday comes first, though. It's right around the corner, after all. Fine. The group chatted about the topic around their family for a little while longer, including the part where the couple asked Maya's parents for help before they eventually changed to the crystallized cherry blossom forest, because Steph still had many questions about that after having seen it for the first time before coming back home. Chapter 082, Ellie's birthday. Sophia and Maya told the others about the blonde's plan of making the sisters' parents visit the domain and/or the new world to show them how amazing their new place is. Naturally, Steph was a big fan of the plan and immediately decided to help in whichever way possible. Maya also found out that she was the only one in their group who hadn't met their partner's parents and got teased a lot about it. Alright, it's finally time. A few days had passed since Sophia announced her plan to make her parents visit her place, but something else had priority right now. The girls were back in the capital, and the blonde energetically raised her arm with a big smile. Ellie's birthday is finally here. I wonder how upset she's going to be that you haven't visited her once since we left. Anna just smiled at her fellow tiger. Don't do that to me. She didn't like that. Thankfully, I have some emergency backup plans ready for that. Shall we go? Maya also wanted to see the little princess. The time should be right now. The tall princess nodded. The official part of her birthday, being congratulated by all kinds of people she doesn't know or care about yet, should be over by now, and we probably have her all to ourselves. Perfect. With the blonde in the lead, they took the portal that was still in the closet of Anna's room in the royal castle to get there as soon as possible. So, Faya. The group went to the castle's entrance hall and were immediately greeted by the little tiger. Seeing the blonde, she immediately ran up to her and launched herself towards the girl. Sophia caught her midair, gently grabbed her by the arms, and started spinning on the spot, letting Ellie fly through the air for a few rounds. Afterward, she pulled the princess close and tightly hugged her while the little tiger also wrapped her arms around the blonde's neck. Ellie missed you so much. I missed you, too. Saying so, the two continued to hug each other for a good minute. So much for being angry, huh? Ari watched the two tigers hugging with a warm expression. She was especially impressed at how tightly the small, roughly 1 meter tall princess with the wavy and light orange hair in the little Red Riding Hood-like dress was clinging to the blonde. Yeah. Anna scratched her cheek. It was a 50-50 chance of either happening. Oh, Ellie is very upset, but hug was more important first. The princess then moved her upper body back a little to look the blonde, who was still holding her, right in the eyes. Why did so, Faya never visit? She sounded extremely sad. Why you promised? Sophia died. Oh ouch. The other girls all had the same reaction. Maya. After Sophia fell lifelessly on her knees, Ellie let go of her and ran over to the catgirl to hug her, too. Hey. She also got on her knees, but only to be in her line of sight, and happily hugged her back. I am so sorry that we haven't come to play sooner. Things were a little complicated and eventful lately. The little tiger seemed a little pouty as she let go of her. Afterward, she walked over to the other girls and also hugged them all before stopping in front of her older sister and staring up at her. What? Anna tilted her head as she looked down. Did I come back home too early? She knew about the rebellious side of her little sister and thought that this was the issue here for sure. Ellie just kept staring at her for a moment. A moment later, she wrapped her arms around the tall tiger's leg and tightly hugged it. The enormous size difference between the striped sisters made anything else impossible, as the short princess was only barely as tall as Anna's legs. Ah! Maya, Ari, Steph, and Chloe had the same reaction. As Sophia had died earlier and was lying face down on the floor by now, she was unable to react in any way possible. Anna also stayed silent for a moment. She did eventually start to gently pet the head of her little sister, who was still clinging to her leg, though. Ah! Everyone except the dead girl had the same reaction again. She was a little lonely the past 2 months. The queen, Kira, joined the group. Technically, she had always been in the corner of the entrance hall, but she decided to stay out of their reunion for a little while. Enough that she even started missing her sister. Is that so? Anna stared at Ellie. Nua. She strongly shook her head from left to right. At the same time, the little princess only clung stronger to her leg, though. Not true. Since when have you gotten cute? The tall tiger couldn't believe the change in her little sister, who used to treat her so coldly. Afterward, she pulled the small tiger off her leg and grabbed her. Then, Anna lifted her up to actually hug Ellie and then let her cling to her side as the tall girl kept holding the short one. Not lonely. Ellie's pouting just got stronger as she clung to Anna's waist now. Ah. Once again, everyone, including the queen, had the same reaction. Sophia was still dead, though. Okay, for that alone, it was worth it. Kira's expression turned warm as she watched her daughters being so close to each other. Steph, could you please use your little magic box that makes small paintings? This? The dog girl pulled out her smartphone. You know that I took like 1,000 pictures of Ellie already? And I want 3,000 more. The queen wasn't content with the current amount. Especially when it's about my 2 babies hugging. That hasn't happened in a long time. I would ask Sophia, but she's busy being dead, so I can't do that. Fine. Steph opened the camera app on her phone and took a couple of pictures of the sisters. I'll give you the painting tomorrow. She lightly rolled her eyes. I need to print it first. Thank you so much. The queen looked incredibly happy. By the way, now that I mentioned it, why is Sophia lying dead in the entrance hall of the castle? Ellie was sad that Sophia never visited and told her that in a very deadly way. Maya, the girlfriend of the dead girl, answered her. Ah, yes, she's good at that. Kira just nodded a few times while glancing at her youngest daughter. Such a shame. She was so young, too. Yeah, the cat girl agreed. Her sudden death threw quite a wrench in my future life plans, as well. I can imagine. She saw the issue. Anyway, thank you very much for coming to my daughter's birthday. Thank you. Ellie, still clinging to Anna, also thanked them. Of course. They, except the corpse, all nodded. Happy birthday, Ellie. The girls perfectly synced up with each other. Ehe. The little princess liked that. Should we get to a more comfortable place? The queen looked around in the entrance hall they were in at the moment. The official part of her birthday is over, so she's all yours now. Ellie met a lot of people she didn't know yet. The little tiger raised her voice. Ellie didn't like that. Ahaha. Anna let out a chuckle while smiling at her pouting sister. Unfortunately, that's part of being a princess. You'll have to get used to that. It'll only become more the older you get. Ellie doesn't want to get used to something like that. Why do you think I ran away? Traveling is way easier than being a princess. Ellie wants to run away, too. The little tiger showed the tall one a determined expression as she looked up at her. Ellie will travel with you and the others. Why would you say something like that? Kira glared at her oldest daughter. She doesn't dislike me right now, so I have to score points. She regretted nothing. That's not how that works. The queen only got louder. Ellie thinks it works. The little princess nodded a few times while giving her sister, who she was still clinging to, a little squeeze. Ellie is very happy about the idea. Of course you are, Kira rolled her eyes. Okay, let's go to one of the lounge rooms for the time being. She gave up. I already asked the maids to prepare some tea, pastries, and snacks the moment you all arrive, so everything should be ready by now. Okay. The girls liked the plan. Maya, if you'd be so nice? The queen pointed at the dead body of her girlfriend. Sure. Understanding what she meant, the cat girl walked over to Sophia and scooped her up. Then, she threw the limp corpse over her shoulder and secured it with her arm. We're ready to go. Once that was dealt with, the group left the entrance hall of the castle and moved over to a lounge room to continue the event and chat some more. Chapter 083, Making Up for It. Sophia and the girls went to the capital to celebrate Ellie's birthday. Unfortunately, while meeting the little princess, the blonde died after the small tiger told her how sad she was that she hadn't visited her even once since leaving. Happy birthday! Roughly an hour after the group went to the lounge room and chatted a ton with each other, Sophia revived again and jumped on her feet after Maya had thrown her corpse into an armchair when they arrived there. Ah, she's back. Everyone had the same reaction. Wait, where are we? The blonde noticed that they were in a different room. We switched to a more comfortable place after you died. Maya answered her. Ah, I see. She nodded a few times. Anyway, I am so sorry. Seemingly having gotten over her own death rather quickly, she faced Ellie, who was sitting on Anna's lap on the sofa opposite of her while her head was being petted by Ari, who was sitting next to them. The last 2 months were so all over the place that I didn't find the right time to visit. Also, I wanted to show you something amazing, and it took a while to find something worthy. Ellie wasn't entirely convinced and just growled for a moment. Amazing? Something did catch her attention, though. Yes. Noticing she got her, the blonde's expression brightened. Soon, I'll show you the most amazing place in existence. Oh. The eyes of the little princess started sparkling. You're not going to take my daughter to some random place far away from the capital. Kira wasn't a fan of where this was heading. Even if I guarantee you that it's the safest place in existence? As Sophia was talking about her domain, she was quite confident about her claim. You can come with us to confirm its safety yourself. It's kind of hard for a queen to leave the capital with little to no notice, you know? Using my portals, no one will even notice that you were gone for an hour. The blonde smiled at her. They're the only way to reach that place, anyway. Enticing. Kira seemed interested, to say the least. What kind of place is it? I'm not going to ruin the surprise. Ah, I see. She couldn't blame her for that. Ellie, do you want to go on an adventure with Sophia? Why, yes. The little princess was able to hide it quite well, but it seemed like she was a little interested in the idea. Hee. The blonde liked her subtle reaction. Let's do that later today. Yes. For now, let's focus a little more on your birthday, though. Ari smiled at the little tiger. We have some presents for you, you know? Presents? She seemed to be ever so slightly interested in that, too. Yes, we all have a little something for you. After the jaguar mentioned it, everyone gave the little princess their presents, while congratulating her once more on her 4th birthday. Thank you so very much. She smiled at all of them. Ellie wants to wear Ari's new clothes when it gets warm. Same for the crayon and paper mache sets. Ellie can't wait to play with them. She looked at Anna and Maya, who gave those to her. Let's play together soon. Of course. The two nodded a couple of times. Ellie will also sleep with the teddy tonight. She glanced at the massive light brown teddy bear that was about her size she had gotten from Chloe and Steph. Initially, they wanted to get her some plushies that resembled the girls in their group in one way or another, but as they couldn't find any, they decided to get her a regular but massive one together. They were happy that she liked it. The bracelet is very cute, too. The little princess looked at her left wrist with the bracelet that was decorated with many colorful gemstones before smiling at Sophia, the person she got it from. Ellie especially loves the pink ones. They look like they have cherry blossoms inside. So cute. They actually have. Sophia smiled at her. The pink gemstones were made by cherry blossoms crystallizing. Ellie doesn't get it, but Ellie loves it. That sentence was too much for the little tiger, but she knew that it was amazing. Ahaha. She had to chuckle at her reaction. Here. The blonde then showed her a couple more crystallized leaves, blossoms, and a bunch of petals. Whao. Ellie seemed to like them a lot, judging by her voice and sparkling eyes. Anna, Chloe, and I, with the help of someone else, actually made these ourselves. Huh? The little princess got even more excited. Is that true? She then looked up at her own sister as she was still sitting on her lap. Yes. She smiled down at her. We used magic to create them. So cool. Her eyes were sparkling. Ellie wants to use magic, too. When is it time for Ellie? I'm sure it will be soon. Sophia encouraged her. And once it happens, we're going to have so much fun. Yay. While it will undoubtedly be joyous even, I also fear the day it actually happens. Kira had mixed feelings about it, mainly because the blonde was going to teach her daughter. Alright, my beloved birthday girl, do you now want to see that special place I mentioned earlier? Sophia paid no mind to the queen and her doubts. Yes. She jumped off Anna's lap in anticipation. Ah. The girl in question was sad that the sisterly bonding was over. Perfect. Afterward, the blonde opened one of her usual portals in front of everyone. Wow. The little princess was impressed a lot today. Where exactly does this lead to? Kira gestured at it while tilting her head. The place we've been staying in for the last 2 months when we're not traveling. An awesome place, I want to add. That doesn't really help that much, you know? The queen slowly shook her head. Fair point, but you have to see it for yourself. She pointed at the portal. All I'll guarantee you is that it's 100% perfectly safe. Well, I know that you'd never endanger Ellie, so. You haven't used my portals yet, have you? Sophia ignored the queen again and faced the little princess instead. You can actually go through it like a door. On the other side is a completely different world you've never seen before. Obviously, she was talking about her domain and not the world she came from. Really? Yes. She just nodded. Ellie wants to see. Immediately after, the little tiger walked right into the portal and disappeared. Wait. Kira instantly ran after her. Kids sure are fearless. Ari was impressed with how fast Ellie used the portal. With those words, everyone else also followed after the queen and the little princess to enter Sophia's domain. Whoa. The portal led to the group's cottage, surrounded by the massively overgrown jungle inside the blonde's domain, and Ellie was busy taking everything in. What is this place? Where are we? Kira was mostly confused, though. Wait, isn't that the cottage you removed for the portal hub outside the capital? She thought that the building felt familiar. The very one. Sophia nodded. I told everyone that it's cute and that I want to keep it, so I did. We're using it as our base while traveling. We always take a portal here once we're done exploring for the day. I see. She nodded a few times while pretending she understood what was going on. By the way, where is here? Sophia scratched her cheek. She only now noticed that explaining her domain to outsiders was slightly difficult. This is the place where all my portals lead to. MHHM? The queen tilted her head. I am fairly sure the last time I used one of your portals, I didn't see this place. The explanation about my portals I gave the king and the others was a little, abridged. Like I said, all my portals lead to the same destination, which is this area. She gestured all around her. In here, I can connect 2 portals, though. That way, they won't lead to this place anymore, but to the source of the other portal instead. It's okay if I don't understand that, right? Don't worry, I don't really understand it myself. Sophia simply smiled at her. It just works. Okay, but I'm still confused over where we are. Kira decided to brush past the portal topic. You've been in Sava a month ago, and traveling another month still gets you nowhere near close to a jungle in our kingdom. That might be because we're not in the beastfolk kingdom right now. The blonde understood her confusion. This place is somewhere else entirely. Huh? The queen got loud. Seriously, where are we? It's my place. She still wasn't sure how to explain it. The portals are connected to a place that isn't part of the regular world. I absolutely don't understand it either, but everything you can see around here is basically my own little world. In fact, the jungle around here was actually made by Ari and Maya by using their magic on a few saplings we got from Mira. Kira stared at her for a little while in absolute silence. What? Exactly. Everyone except Sophia and Ellie agreed with her confusion. Well, if you want a clearer explanation, you have to ask our dear overseer of magic. The blonde ignored the girls and kept focusing on the queen. She knows how this place works because she has something similar and actually knows how it works. Is that so? Yup. Sophia nodded. All I know is that I have a perfect overview of the entire place and can see and intervene in any and all possible danger. There are no dangerous animals or even monsters anywhere. It's the safest place in existence. Even if there would be anything potentially harmful in here, I could sense it and stop it from hurting anyone before it would ever happen. Is that so? Yes. She smiled at the queen. Because of that, it's much more likely for Ellie to hurt herself in the castle than it is here. Honestly, she should live here for her own safety. Yes. The little princess seemed to like the idea. Ellie wants to live here. The only way for you to have a child live here will involve Maya, because it has to be your own. Kira wasn't a fan of the suggestion, though. My baby isn't going to live here. Ah. Sophia looked honestly disappointed. That will take a few years, then. I'll still take Ellie on a birthday exploration, though. There are many amazing things I want to show her. Ellie wants to explore, too. She reacted with a couple of big nods. I promise that she won't even get a single scratch when I return her to you once we're done playing. The blonde looked at the queen with pleading eyes. Please. Ellie did the same. Kira looked at the duo for a few moments. Fine. She eventually caved in. Still, as much as a bruise, and I'll send the entire beastfolk army after you. I know that they won't be able to hurt you, but your afternoon will be ruined. Not my afternoon. Sophia played along. If anything, I won't be able to forgive myself, so it will be my utmost priority. Okay. Ellie, have fun. She reluctantly gave her okay. Yay. Both tigers had the same reaction. Afterward, Sophia immediately began planning on what to show Ellie, and in which order. Kira and the others then went inside for the time being because the blonde wanted some alone time with the princess, because she wanted to make up for the long time she hadn't visited her. Chapter 084, Domain Tour. Sophia returned from the dead, and they celebrated Ellie's birthday while also giving her their birthday presents. Afterward, the blonde took everyone, including Kira and the little princess, to her domain because she wanted to go exploring with the birthday girl. Once the queen finally, but still very reluctantly, agreed, she immediately started planning their trip. Have you ever seen a jungle before? Sophia and the little princess were still together in front of the cottage where the blonde pointed and the overgrown place in front of them. Only in picture books. She shook her head. Something in Ellie really wants to see it, though. Her inner tiger was speaking. Ahaha, I get you. The blonde lightly patted her head. She was very aware of her inner tiger, after all. Should we go? She held out her hand. Before Mom comes back, because she changed her mind? Quickly. Ellie quickly grabbed her hand and dragged the taller tiger towards the jungle. That's the spirit. It's so cool. A few minutes later and already deep in the jungle, Ellie's eyes were sparkling as she took in the sights around her. That's true. Sophia agreed with her. Jungles are great. Ellie wants to climb a tree. She was having a great time already. I'm not so sure about that. The blonde scratched her cheek while looking at a nearby tree. As they were grown by magic, the massive kapok trees around them were way too tall for a 4-year-old to safely climb. Please? The princess turned on her puppy eyes. Are you really a tiger? She was surprised that her dog levels reached even Steph's. She just tilted her head. Let's keep exploring for a little while longer first, okay? Even if we climb trees here, we won't see anything too out of the ordinary. Sophia tried to buy some time. Later, I will show you a place that's really high up, and the view's amazing there. Much better than up the trees here. Okay. She seemed to be okay with that. Let's go. Squeezing Sophia's hand, the little tiger then dragged her deeper into the jungle. Hee hee. The blonde was happy that she was seemingly having a great time. The duo then followed the path Maya and Fen had burned into the jungle a while ago when they were looking for the heart of the jungle, where they ended up finding Kinnear's shrine. Where does this go to? After a little while, Ellie got curious about the path they were following. Nowhere important. She shook her head. After all, the shrine didn't exist anymore, and it was far from important to her in the first place. It's just a nice little path to explore the jungle. It's really pretty out here, isn't it? Very. The princess nodded. Ellie doesn't know why, but Ellie loves being in a jungle. It's because you're a tiger. Sophia smiled at her again. Our ancestors, full tigers, at least many types of them, used to live deep inside jungles. Oh. Our tiger bits still remember this, and that makes us love the jungle very much. It's the same for me, too. Her tiger bits were very intense, after all. Makes sense. Still, as amazing as the jungle is, should we take a look at the other places that are here? Maya and Ari made the jungle, but do you want to see what Chloe and Steph did? Yes. Ellie got excited about the plan. Wait. She then froze, though. Steph and Chloe, they like the cold and snow. She didn't finish her sentence. Yes, they made an icy snow kingdom of stupidity, or whatever the name was. The expression of the little tiger changed into the very opposite of excitement. Should we go to the place Fenny and Ari made instead? Yes. Ahaha. Liking her strong response, Sophia opened another portal, and the two went to visit the regular forest Fen had created with the help of the jaguar. Such a pretty forest. The princess immediately took a liking to the project Fen and Ari were working on. Taking a nap here must be nice. Funnily enough, that was exactly why he created the place. She nodded. To relax and nap. A good plan. Ellie fully supported the wolf. Very true. Sophia thought so, too. The two were also working on a nice lake with an amazing ah. She stopped herself from mentioning the cherry blossom tree, or rather the weeping cherry she had given the duo for their lake. After all, she wanted to surprise her with the sea of cherry blossoms in her massive forest. The little tiger tilted her head. It's nothing. She just smiled. Oh. Do you want to see the pine forest Aura made, too? Yes. It seemed like she couldn't wait. By the way, what's a pani? It's a sort of tree. You know, the one with the needles that smell really nice. Never heard of it. She shook her head. Sounds interesting, though. Ellie wants to see it. Sure thing. Nodding once, Sophia then opened yet another portal for them to step through. WAOH. They arrived on a little hill Aura seemed to have made to overlook the area better, and Ellie immediately got excited again once she saw the never-ending forest of nothing but pine trees all around her. What a weird tree. So big, too. Aura really went all out with it, huh? The blonde also sounded impressed. My favorite part definitely is the smell, though. True. While agreeing, Ellie went ahead and sniffed the air a couple of times. Very nice. Right, now that I think about it, there are no needle leaf trees in the capital, right? I don't think I've seen any of them right outside, either. It's not just the name, but it's actually the first time seeing this kind of tree, right? Yes. The princess nodded. It's Ellie's first time not in the capital. It's amazing. I'm glad you're having a good time. Yes. Best birthday ever. Awesome. Should we walk around in the pine forest here for a little bit and enjoy the smell for a while longer? Okay. The princess liked the idea. Then, she grabbed Sophia's hand again and decided to take the lead while guiding the taller tiger through the forest she'd never seen before. This forest is great, isn't it? The two were walking around for roughly 15 minutes when the blonde looked at her again. I think the scent is very calming. Very. She nodded. Though, Ellie noticed something very confusing. What is it? That. The princess pointed up. There's no sky. It's bright, but no sun. Just white. Ah. Sophia saw the issue. You couldn't see it in the jungle and Fenny's forest, but it's like that everywhere around here. I see. Ellie kept looking at the sky, or the lack of it. Why? An excellent question. She scratched her cheek. Oh. It's like paper. Paper. The princess got only more confused. Yes. Sophia just smiled. When you draw something nice and colorful, you also start with a white sheet of paper, right? Right. She could work with that explanation. It's the same with this place. The blonde continued. Everything around here is white all over, and we're painting over it by creating colorful nature with magic. Really? Do you want to see how it looked before we created our forest and stuff like that? I can. She got excited once again. Of course. Saying so, Sophia opened yet another portal and went through it together with the little tiger. So bright. Arriving at an empty spot of Sophia's domain, Ellie immediately covered her eyes because she was surprised by just how white it was. It really is hard on the eyes, isn't it? The blonde couldn't blame her. Yes. She nodded while still covering her eyes and only stealing some glances here and there. Ellie doesn't understand many things yet because she's young, but does this make sense to adults? Ahaha. She had to laugh at this. No, even though I own this place, it doesn't make any sense to me, either. Good. The princess looked honestly relieved. Ellie thought being an adult is even more complicated than she thought. You'll be fine. Sophia patted her head in return. Though, it is kinda cool in a way, isn't it? This place, I mean. She looked around a little bit while trying to get her eyes used to the brightness by blinking a couple of times. Maybe. Good enough. Can Ellie paint here, too? Finally being somewhat okay with the environment, the princess looked around at the nothingness while tilting her head. Do you mean this area? She tried to understand what she meant. Like the forests the others made? Yes. The little tiger nodded. Ellie wants to make her own place, too. That would be fun, but you can't use magic yet, can you? Sophia looked a little awkward. You need magic for it. Ah. She didn't like that. Ellie wants to use magic already. Again, I'm sure it will happen soon. The blonde tried to cheer her up again. Once it does happen, I'll train you, and then we can make a forest or whatever else you want together here. Promise? Promise. Sophia smiled at her. The moment it happens, I'll be there for you day and night to teach you everything you need to know about magic. Yay. Okay, how about we go to the next place I want to show you for the time being? There's more? I was saving the best place for last. The blonde sounded a little smug. There's still the thing I'm working on right now. Oh. Let's go. Saying so, Sophia got ready to open yet another portal that led to her cherry blossoms area, the place she was looking forward to showing Ellie since the very beginning. Chapter 085, Boasting about Cherry Blossoms. Sophia took Ellie to her domain as a part of her birthday gift and showed her all the biomes the others created. Saving the best for last, the blonde took the princess to her cherry blossom area after lightly explaining everything that was going on in the first place. Okay, you can open your eyes now. The duo went to the initial floating island with the river and the hammock over the cherry blossom forest. Ellie was currently sitting on the blonde's shoulders while covering her eyes with her hands. Why did Ellie have to WAOH? Her eyes immediately fell on the massive pink and white weeping cherry in the middle of the island and spanning all above it. Pretty tree. Her eyes were already sparkling before having even noticed where they currently were. Yeah, it's a nice tree, but Sophia then turned around to make the princess face away from it. WAOH. She got even more excited as she finally noticed their surroundings. Are the islands floating? The princess first noticed the hundreds of other floating objects in the distance around them. They sure are. The blonde smiled at her. In fact, we're on one of those floating islands right now, too. She walked closer to the edge and bent slightly forward to show the little tiger on her shoulders what was below her. Her vocabulary wasn't developed enough to put her feelings into words. Cherry. She ushered the first thing that came to mind as she looked at the never-ending sea of white, pink, purple, and red trees below them. So many. It's something, isn't it? It's amazing. She liked it a lot. Ellie has never seen anything like this. Most people that ever existed probably haven't. Sophia scratched her cheek. Can we go down? The princess on Sophia's shoulders started to get fidgety. Ellie wants to see the cherry blossoms close. Of course. Immediately after, yet another portal appeared beside them, and she walked through it. Ellie's going to live here from now on. Down in the actual forest, the little tiger jumped off the blonde's shoulders and started dancing around the trees and their cherry blossoms that were constantly falling down on the ground to a level where everything was already covered in a layer of petals. This place is so much better than the castle. Can we build a room for Ellie right here? I mean, you're more than welcome to stay here, but good luck convincing your mom. She saw some slight issues with her plan. The little tiger froze. Ellie forgot about that. She might be a too tough opponent for us. True. The princess nodded. Mama can't be beat. Yes, moms can never be beat. Sophia smiled at her. How about we just come here to play really often for the time being? Okay. It was a compromise she could live with. Wait. If the blossom's already falling like that, it won't stay pretty for long. It only lasts for a week or two. Oh, you don't have to worry about that. The blonde sounded ever so slightly smug. They're magic trees. They'll stay in full bloom forever. No way. She couldn't believe it. That's been Ellie's dream ever since seeing my first cherry. And now it came true. Yay. The little tiger was very happy about it. Can I have a magic cherry for home? Ellie wants to look at one forever. Even when not here. Sure. Naturally, she'd gladly do that. Oh, wait, I have a better idea. If you can wait a bit longer, I'll teach you how to do it once you're able to use magic. How does that sound? Ellie tilted her head while thinking about it. That sounds fun, but what if it takes longer? Then I'll simply do it for you. Yay. She cheered up again. Thank you. You're very welcome. Sophia couldn't help but spoil her. Can we walk around a little longer? The princess was already back to dancing between the trees and through the cherry blossoms. Ellie saw some very pretty dark purple cherries when we were above. Can we see them? They're all the regular pink and white around here. Whatever the birthday girl desires. No wasn't an option. Let's see, dark purple, huh? She spun around on the spot before pointing in the direction opposite the princess. They should be in that direction because the blossoms are getting slightly darker over there. Okay. Ellie got closer to Sophia again and grabbed her hand. Let's go. The duo walked through the forest for around half an hour while Ellie took her time to look at all the trees, cherry blossoms, and falling petals, together with how they were slowly changing colors. Just like Sophia, she also seemed to prefer the weeping cherries over the regular ones, as she watched them for much longer whenever she stopped walking. Ah, there are the dark purple blossoms. After some more exploring, they finally found the trees Ellie wanted to see. Yay! The princess immediately sprinted over the cluster of weeping cherries and jumped through the air to catch some of the falling petals. Ellie has never seen anything more pretty. Yes, I also love how it turned out. Bestest place ever. She was really happy to be here. Do the trees really stay pretty forever? They do. Sophia smiled at her again. Magic is amazing and lets you do that if you want. It can bring your desires to reality. Well, within limits, of course. That's amazing. Her eyes were sparkling. Magic can change nature. So cool. Magic and nature are actually good friends and help each other out. Oh. They help each other grow and take care of each other. The blonde explained it in very easy terms to her. But, if you can use magic, you can change nature to your liking a little. Really? She seemed rather interested. Can Ellie make it warm forever? No more winter? Gosh, I love you so much. The blonde sympathized with her on many levels. It might be possible, but you would need a lot of magic for that. Even I wouldn't be able to. Also, it would be unfair to those who love and need the cold. Ah, the princess hung her head. Ellie gets it, though. You can change the temperature directly around you, though. She tried to cheer her up. I've been making it warmer around myself and the other cats in the group ever since winter started to survive. Awesome. So, Fia needs to teach Ellie how to do that. It's an essential skill to any cold-hating cat, so of course I will. Thank you. That made her the happiest yet. The cold was a serious business for all of them, after all. Now Ellie really hopes she learns to use magic before next cold time. Well, it's only May, so it's not even summer, and we still have a lot of time left before it has to happen. I hope. Hee hee. The blonde let out a small chuckle, before looking around for a moment. Do you want to see the best place now? There's something even better. The princess got loud because she didn't think it was possible to one-up the cherry blossoms. How about you decide for yourself? Once again, Sophia opened a portal and escorted her through it. HHUH. The blonde brought the princess to the crystallized part of the cherry blossom forest, and she immediately froze in surprise. What is this? This is the place where I got those pink gemstones from. Sophia pointed at the bracelet the little tiger was wearing on her left wrist. That doesn't answer Ellie's question. She just got loud. Fair enough. She scratched her cheek in return. Earlier, I said that you can influence nature with your magic, right? Uh-huh. She nodded. You see, when you use too much magic, this happens. She gestured all around her. Usually, plants just get bigger with magic, but they can mutate, too. Mutate? The princess looked confused. Ehe. Sophia had to chuckle at her pronunciation. It's when something like plants or animals change either a little or a lot and start being different. Like, if you'd suddenly have a second tail. Oh. Ellie looked at her tail. That would be fun. I'm not so sure about that. She glanced at her own tail with a complicated expression. Then again, Mira has 9 of them and is doing just fine. The blonde paused for a moment. Anyway, if you use too much magic on nature, stuff like this can happen. She pointed around herself again. Stuff can crystallize or completely change in different ways. Ellie doesn't really get it, but it's so cool. It was a little too much for her to fully understand what was going on. I was planning to gift you one of the crystal trees and put it into the castle garden right in front of your room as an extra birthday gift, too. Bestest birthday ever. The princess wasn't against the idea. Thank you. Hee hee. A second tail still would be cool, too. She had taken a liking to the idea and was staring at her singular one again. How about no? Your mom will kill me if I let that happen. Fine, she sounded honestly disappointed. Does that mean Ellie can make her own gems when she can use magic? It's not impossible, but it's really, really, really hard. Sophia scratched her cheek. To create this place, Anna, Chloe, and I needed to use all of our magic together, and even then, we needed help from a new friend that has way more magic than all of us combined. Wow. The princess had no better response. A new friend? Blue. As if on cue, the little blue parakeet appeared out of nowhere, landed on the blonde's shoulder, and happily chirped a couple of times while rubbing its head against her cheek. This is our newest and cutest friend. So adorable. Ellie was an instant fan. Wait, Blue has more magic than all of you. Well, excluding Mira, but yes, our lovely bird here is stronger than everyone you know together. Wow, so Blue's the bestest? Sure is. Sophia nodded while the parakeet was doing the same. Wait. She then got loud. Why can a bird use magic, but Ellie can't? The princess got jealous. What a dilemma, huh? The blonde had nothing to say and just looked to the side to glance at the parakeet on her shoulder. What do you think? I can sense her magic already, but why can't she use it yet? In return, Blue just tilted its head while staring right at the princess for a while. Then, the parakeet took flight only to land on the little tiger's shoulder instead, before rubbing its head against her cheek, as well. The moment they touched, a pale pink light surrounded Blue and Ellie, and countless pink and purple magic particles appeared out of nowhere and circled around the princess while also going in and out of her. Blue is so cute. Ellie didn't seem to have noticed and was just happy about the parakeet being as adorable as it was. Sophia, on the other hand, looked slightly confused over what just happened. Once the light disappeared and the particles seemingly got absorbed into the little princess, Blue flew back to the blonde while chirping a couple of times. Did just happen what I think happened. She simply stared at the overly proud-looking bird with a dumbfounded expression for a while. Chapter 086, Talented Princess. Sophia gave Ellie a tour of her domain, and the princess loved all of it. She was especially fond of the cherry blossoms, and even wanted to live there. In the end, the little tiger also met Blue, and the two became friends quickly. Something unexpected happened during their meeting as well, though. Wah, so pretty! Seemingly not having noticed anything yet, Ellie was busy exploring the crystallized plants while her eyes were sparkling almost as much as her surroundings. What just happened, Blue? The blonde brought her hand to her shoulder and let the bird hop onto it before moving in front of her to look at it while talking. Why did you and her glow just now? Why did I see magic particles going in and out of her? In response to that, the parakeet didn't react at all. Oi. She didn't like that. It's clear that you did something. She continued to stare at Blue for a while until the parakeet eventually turned its head away after caving into the pressure. Do you want me to get angry? Anything concerning the little princess was not game to her, after all. After that, the bird immediately raised its wings in defeat. Even the absolutely overpowered Blue instinctively knew that angry Sophia would be bad news. So, what did you do? Pausing for a second, the parakeet then rubbed its head against Sophia's thumb while it was sitting on her hand. Yes, I was that you pat her cheek. She rolled her eyes. What happened afterward, though? Why did you two glow? Why were there magic particles going in and out of Ellie? Blue just tilted its head in return. A second later, the parakeet started flapping its wings a couple of times. Yeah, I have no idea what that means. She had trouble interpreting the bird's intent. Okay, both of you were glowing, and the particles. Did you unlock Ellie's magic? The parakeet immediately shook its head. No? But it did unlock, didn't it? I could feel her power before already, but it feels active now. Blue changed its response to nodding instead. So it did activate. Sophia sounded excited. But you really had nothing to do with it? Hearing that, the bird froze. Is there anything you want to tell me? Blue then just turned its entire body away from the blonde. What's that supposed to mean? You didn't unlock, but you also didn't not help? Blue didn't move an inch in return. Not the most talkative today, huh? Sophia felt like they had already had better conversations before. Was it about to unlock soon on its own, but you being near her and touching her cheek, as a massive bundle of pure magic, kick-started it? She took a guess on the events. Hearing that, Blue turned around again and moved its head up and down a couple of times. Ah, I see. She stared at the parakeet before breaking into a smile. Sure, let's leave it at that. Sophia then gently patted its head for a little while. It's about half of Maya, isn't it? She then looked at Blue again, who nodded in return. Anna's going to be so jealous. She already knew how the older sister would react now that the little princess had about twice the magic she had at her disposal. Ellie. Once the blonde was done with Blue, she faced the princess, who was entertaining herself with one of the crystallized cherry blossoms while they were having their conversation. She quickly walked up to the taller tiger. Fia need anything? How are you feeling right now? Great. Her answer came instantly. This place is the bestest. Happy to hear. She smiled at her. I meant your health, though. For example, feeling like you got a cold? Sophia roughly remembered the time when Ari and her magic got messed up and how sick they felt back then. Not at all. The princess shook her head. Ellie's full of energy and never felt better. As she said that, Blue left the blonde's shoulder and landed on the little tiger's shoulder again while rubbing its head against her cheek once more before nodding a couple of times. Ellie liked that a lot. Perfect. She was relieved that she wasn't suffering from any side effects. After all, Sophia had no idea how children naturally awaken their magic in that new world of hers. Do you want to experiment a little with me? Experiment? The little tiger looked confused. There's a few things I want to try together with you. She smiled at her. If it works out, we're going to have a ton of fun. Ellie loves fun. The princess was a fan of the plan already. Come here for a bit. Saying so, Sophia sat down cross-legged on the grass and patted the ground in front of her. Okay. She quickly did the same, and the two looked at each other for a moment while sitting down in front of each other. Perfect. Still smiling, the blonde stretched out her arms and held her hands in front of Ellie. What are we doing? Still confused, the princess went ahead and placed her hands on top of Sophia's. I'm going to try something now. Holding her hands, Sophia then used some of her raw magic and let it flow into the little tiger. Pink and purple particles covered both their hands and parts of Ellie's arms. Are you feeling something right now? She tilted her head. Ellie feels a little warm. As she couldn't see the particles, this was the only noteworthy change for her. That's a start. Anything else? For example, feeling extremely powerful and strong? It wasn't exactly what the blonde was going for. Ellie always feels powerful and strong. Aren't you a healthy girl? The healthiest. That's great. She had to chuckle. Still, maybe even more powerful than usual? Hard to tell when you're the most strongest. Ellie's mood was excellent. That is true. Sophia played along. Ellie feels like she has even more energy. Does that count? That very much counts. Yay. The princess got happy. Why, though? We'll be getting to that now. The blonde let go of Ellie's left hand and presented the palm of her own hand to the princess. A moment later, a perfectly round ball of water with a diameter of 5 centimeters appeared and began to float roughly 15 centimeters over her palm. Oh! The little tiger stared at it with sparkling eyes. So jealous. Ellie wants to use magic, too. Sophia wasn't sure what to say. How about we train a little and get you ready for when it's time? She wanted to surprise her. Okay. She managed to get even more excited. Let's go. Steph's rubbing off on you, huh? When we were in the capital. She noticed the dog's favorite catchphrase. But, yes, let's go. What does Ellie need to do? Let's see, she hadn't gotten that far in her plan yet. I guess, let's start with. Alright, please put your hand, palm side up, between my hand and the ball of water in the same way I'm doing it right now. Sure. She did exactly as told and then stared at the water ball with a curious expression. Now? Can you feel the water? Nua. The princess shook her head. How can water be felt without touching? Don't go philosophical on me now. Philalalo, what? Don't mind me. Sophia rolled her eyes while stifling a chuckle. Does your hand feel any different than usual? After all, it's right between my hand and the magic I'm using it for. MHRMM. She stared at her hand for a good bit while her face went through all sorts of expressions. A little tingly. Tingly, huh? Tingly. The princess nodded once. Okay, what now? Saying so, the blonde grew the ball of water to twice its original size. More tingly. Fair enough. She wasn't sure what reply she expected. Can you try and concentrate on the tingly? How? Try to make it feel even more tingly. Ellie's not sure if so. Fi is a good or bad teacher. Yes. The blonde agreed. Do you think you can try? Absolutely. The princess closed her eyes to concentrate extra hard. Is it working? No idea. She lightly shrugged. I really need to step up my teaching game, after all. Ellie thinks so, too. The princess nodded in agreement. 25% less sassy, please. Best Ellie can do is 10%. Wow. Sophia needed to pause for a moment. Have you been secretly meeting Maya lately? No, why? Not important. The blonde shook her head. The tingly feeling you have is probably the magic I'm using. Again, I'm controlling the water through my hand by using magic. Try to concentrate on the water like you want to control it, too. Like, think about wanting to make it bigger really hard. Put some power into that idea. The tingly feeling might get stronger that way. She tried to trick the little tiger into using her magic, thinking about wanting to make it bigger. Ellie tilted her head while staring at the ball of water. Really hard and strongly. She repeated herself. Okay. The princess seemed highly motivated and focused on the water floating on top of her palm, which Sophia was keeping there. Bigger. Ellie wants it bigger. She stared at it so hard that her expression turned all scrunched up. More water. Bigger ball. More powerful. The little tiger was doing her bestest to influence it. Oh? A few minutes after Ellie started making grimaces at the water, something began to change. Small ripples formed all over the perfectly round and smooth ball, which soon grew a tiny bit in size. It's more tingly now. Her eyes were sparkling again. Ellie can feel it. It's bigger, too. It sure is. The blonde kept smiling. That's why it's more tingly now. Should we try something more advanced now? Yes. That's the spirit. Being a fan of her enthusiasm, Sophia went right for the next step. Right now, I'm making the water float with my magic. Try imagining doing the same. Want it to float really hard. Okay. She immediately went back to making grimaces at the water as the princess was focusing hard on the task. A minute later, the ball rose up ever so slightly. Talented. Sophia murmured this word before slowly lowering her hand, which had been below Ellie's until now. Still tingly? Nua. She shook her head. Ellie's hand just feels powerful? Yeah, it feels quite powerful to use magic. The blonde nodded. So, how do you like using magic? It's pretty cool, isn't it? You learned it so fast, too. HHUH? Hearing that, Ellie's concentration broke, and the ball of water she had been controlling for the past couple of moments splashed onto her hand and lightly spilled over the two girls. Thankfully, it wasn't that much water they were playing with. Chapter 087, Magic Awakening. Ellie's meeting with Blue, a bundle of highly condensed magic, caused her own magic to awaken. Sophia, who noticed this, immediately tested out the princess's new skill and made her use magic without knowing it. From the looks of it, the little tiger seemed to be quite apt at it, as well. What do you mean? The little tiger was still in shock. Ellie used magic? You sure did. Sophia smiled at her. No. She didn't believe it. Yes. The blonde kept smiling. I created the ball of water, but you're the one that made it bigger and kept it floating for a little once I took away my hand. Nua. The princess shook her head. Ellie can't use magic yet. You can. Sophia also shook her head in the same manner. You became able to earlier when you met Blue. The parakeet, who had landed on the blonde's shoulder again, nodded a few times in confirmation. Is so, Fire really not lying? I would never lie to you. The blonde raised her voice. So, Ellie really did water magic? Yup. She nodded. At first, you just supported my magic, but it was fully your own doing near the end. Wow. The princess got excited again. Ellie needs to learn all the magic. Right now. I'm glad you're so enthusiastic, but I'm afraid that it might have to wait until tomorrow. Why? The princess didn't like that. So, Faya said that when Ellie's magic is ready, that she will spend all her time to teach. And I will absolutely do that. The blonde had no intention to break her promise. Still, you just unlocked your magic. That's pretty big, isn't it? The biggest. She felt the same about the matter. Don't you think your parents deserve to know first? Before I then turned you into the bestest 4-year-old magic user? Guess so. While it seemed like she understood, the little tiger still looked disappointed and hung her head. Let's do it quickly, so we can more magic. Sure. Sophia let out another chuckle. It seems like Kira already went home, so let's head directly to the castle. Once the princess stopped being reluctant about it, the blonde opened one of her portals, and the two stepped through it. I honestly wasn't expecting the two of you to be back so early. The duo immediately ran into Kira in one of the hallways in the castle. Let me guess. You came to get permission for a sleepover? Yes. Ellie reacted with a big nod. The plan was news for her, but she was an immediate fan. I won't say no to that, either, but that's not what we came here for. The blonde shook her head. A little something happened that we need to tell you. I don't like the sound of that. The queen raised an eyebrow. Did you get hurt, Ellie? She immediately focused on her daughter. I told you what's going to happen if she gets even a scratch. Ellie's perfectly fine. The blonde and the little tiger synced up. Then, what happened? Kira looked confused. Wait a moment. She then noticed something when she took a better look at her daughter. Yep. Sophia nodded. That's why I brought her back. Your magic unlocked, Ellie? The queen got incredibly loud. It did. The little tiger gave her a thumbs up. Ellie already used it, too. Funny floating water balls. And no way. She looked quite shocked. So much, too. We have to go to Menzer immediately. Sure thing. The blonde just kept nodding, and the trio made their way to where the king was. Dear, we need your full attention right now. Kira flew into his office. How can I be of service? He lifted his head from a couple of papers he was focusing on and looked at his wife. Here. Saying so, the queen grabbed Ellie under her arms and lifted her on the massive wooden table that was separating the couple. Hello, beloved daughter of mine. Looking rather confused, he smiled at her. Hey. She happily waved at him. What am I missing? He then looked at Kira again. Take a good look at your daughter, and you tell me. Doing as told, Menzer scanned the little tiger from head to toe. Wait a moment. Yup. Just like before, Sophia simply nodded. Her magic did indeed awaken when we were playing together. No way. The king jumped off his chair. It's so much, I can't even really put it in numbers. Ellie's the strongest, after all. The princess, who was still standing on the desk, showed her father a V sign with her fingers. Ahaha. Liking her reply, the blonde got closer to her and lifted the little tiger off the table before facing Menzer. It's about half of Maya's power, or twice that of Anna's current magic, depending on how you want to look at it. That much? He got even louder. Wouldn't that mean she can learn and use chantless magic? She already did. Sophia smiled at him. I taught her a little water magic earlier. Chantless, of course, because that's the only way I can use and teach magic. Floaty water ball. Ellie cheerfully nodded. Away. Kira and Menzer synced up. You shouldn't belittle your daughter like that. The blonde shook her head. She's a very talented girl. Yes. Ellie thought so, too. Not nice. That's not what we meant. Both glared at Sophia. Sure sounded like it, though. Yes. The princess nodded. Sounded like it. To bring the point across, she started pouting, as well. No, it's just not plausible that anyone learns magic mere hours after they unlock it. It was minutes, okay? Minutes. Ellie put extra emphasis on the most important part of the blonde's statement. That's even less plausible. Kira sided with the king. It takes months before you can use your first spells. Activation words are a whole story entirely. Well, it might sound weird, but chantless magic is by far the easiest way to use magic. Yeah, it's hard to obtain because it's literally based on your power, but it's ridiculously easy to use. For chance, you actually have to come up with something and put work into stuff I don't even understand. Activation stuff is similar, too. For chantless, your imagination is the limit. You literally just have to think about what you want. If your imagination is great, you've already won. Ellie's imagination is the bestest. The little tiger was a natural when it came to that. We need to work a little on your concentration, though. Sophia smiled at the princess. We don't want to get wet again because you lost your focus, right? Yes. She was highly motivated. Our baby actually used chantless magic. Kira still had a hard time believing it. Well, to be perfectly fair, I did some magic where I included her. She influenced my magic and then later took it over. I still have to teach her how to create something from scratch. Ellie can't wait. She was bouncing all over the room in anticipation. Oh, I see. The king nodded along. So you made sure she actually unlocked it, and you noticed how promising and talented she is? Pretty much. Sophia smiled at him. She did use actual magic, though. If this gets public, that our nation's princess has this level of magic reserves, on top of being able to use chantless magic, things will get hectic again. Menzer was holding his head. Anna also can use chantless magic, though? The blonde tilted her head. Since back when I boosted hers and Ari's magic around their birthday. And that also caused quite the stir. So, it probably won't be a good idea to tell you that I plan to boost Anna's magic again in the future? To my current level, at the very least. The same with Ari and the others. Why do you hate me so much? Menzer got loud while he was rubbing his temples. You're back for 5 minutes, and my migraine is back already. You know that it's a good thing, right? Me gifting your daughter more magic to use? Ellie also wants more magic. She had no idea what was going on, but the little princess still wanted to get in on the fun. Let's think about that possibility once you're able to control your current power. Even Sophia thought it was too early for her. Okay. I mean, that is indeed true, and I'm very grateful that you're supporting our daughter to this extent, but it's a lot to take in. Menzer faced the blonde again. Be it as the king or father. Exactly. Kira just nodded. Fair enough, I guess. Sophia couldn't blame them. Anyway, I promised Ellie I would teach her some more magic tomorrow, but I brought her back for now because I thought you needed to know first. How about I give you some time to let it sink in, and if there's anything I need to know, you can tell me tomorrow. Assuming that we continue with the plan of me teaching her because my way of using magic is, well, it's just better than any other teacher in existence. Yes. Kira nodded. Your way of doing things is a little eccentric, but the results speak for itself. It will be for the best if Ellie learns from you. I think so, too. The king nodded. Perfect. The blonde decided to not comment on the eccentric part and just smiled. I'll come and get her tomorrow around noon. If there's anything you want me to know, you can tell me then. Okay. Ellie can't wait. Once the outline of the plan was set in stone, Sophia decided to head home for the time being, as it had been a long day for everyone involved. She still needed to tell the others of Ellie's awakening, as well. Chapter 088, Do As I Say, Not As I Do. Ellie's magic finally awakened, and Sophia took her back to the castle in the capital because of that. Naturally, their parents deserved to know about this important change in their daughter. Once Kira and Menzer calmed down, to some degree at least, the blonde told them that she was going to pick up the princess on the following day to start her magic training. So, Faya. Just as promised, the blonde returned the day after and was immediately greeted by the princess the moment she arrived. Ellie. Sophia caught the rapidly approaching girl, who leaped at her during the last few steps and tightly hugged the little tiger. Ready for some magic? Why, yes. She was very ready. Is there anything I need to keep in mind? Once she finished hugging the princess, the blonde let go of her and faced Kira, who had been there as well. A few things. She nodded. First of all, before you start with the practical side of your teaching, you're going to explain the potential dangers to her. Don't just go look at this amazing thing before telling her what could happen if it goes wrong. Fair enough, I can do that. Sophia nodded along. It wasn't her way of doing things, quite the opposite actually, but for the sake of the little princess and her safety, the blonde had no issues with following this approach. Thank you very much. The queen was glad she understood. Adding to that, no fire magic or other types that could easily harm herself or others for the time being. I'm not against having her learn it, but save it for last. Losing control of a little bit of water or wind can be quite a nuisance. Losing control of even a tiny flame can end up in a catastrophe, especially if she's alone when it happens. A reasonable demand. The blonde saw no flaw in her logic. While fire is my forte, water and air-based magics are the easiest to teach, so I plan to start with them anyway. Good. Kira was relieved that Sophia was listening to her. Let's get going already. While the two were laying the groundwork, the princess was getting impatient. Ellie wants to learn magic. Don't worry, we're almost done. Sophia smiled at her before looking at Kira again. Is there anything else? No, Menzer and I are most concerned about her safety, so we would be most grateful if you followed these points. Also, please remember that she's still a princess of this nation and only 4 years old. Try not to teach her anything too eccentric. Hey! The eccentric tiger got loud. Let's go. Ellie was having none of this, grabbed Sophia's hand, and started to drag her out of the entrance hall of the castle. Have fun. Kira just smiled at them while she waved at her leaving daughter. The duo returned to the blonde's domain and went to the floating island with the weeping cherry and hammock above the massive cherry blossom forest. We should be allowed to enjoy a bit of a view while training, right? Sophia smiled at the princess, before looking off the island. Yes. Ellie felt the same. Teaching first, though. Don't worry, we'll get to that soon. She had to chuckle at her impatience. Before we get to the action, we have to do some talking, though. Boo. The princess wasn't a fan of that. I get the feeling, and I'm fully behind you on that, but it's one of the conditions Kira gave me. If I don't tell you about possible dangers and other things to keep in mind, I'm not allowed to teach you. Her face scrunched up. Make it quick, please. You really are the best. Sophia was liking her even more. Your mom has a point, though. Magic can be quite dangerous, you know? Really? Ellie tilted her head. Yes. She nodded. We don't want you to get hurt, right? No. The princess nodded in return. Perfect. The blonde was glad she understood. Blue, would you like to assist me? As she said those words, the parakeet flew out of the weeping cherry that was on the island and landed on her shoulder before rubbing its head against her cheek as usual. Ellie didn't even see Blue. She smiled at the bird. Such a good hider. Yep, one of the many talents our Blue has. As if agreeing with the tigers, it puffed out its chest while waving one of its wings, as well. But how does Blue help with explaining? The princess looked at the bird. Blue can't talk, right? Not in words, but it's a very expressive parakeet. Sophia patted its head, and Blue raised a wing to agree with her. True. Also, for now, Blue is emotional support. She was still patting its head. I'll do the talking. After all, if Kira finds out I let a bird explain it to you, I'll be executed. The fact that Blue's stronger and more intelligent than all of us combined likely won't matter. Ellie loves moral support. Do you even know what that is? Doesn't matter. Her mood was excellent. Fair enough. Sophia had no intention of going into detail either. Alright, let's get comfortable and talk a little. The blonde sat down on the grass below her, and the princess promptly did the same. Let's go. First of all, your mom is right. Magic can be incredibly dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. She jumped right into it. I'd know because I have no idea what I'm doing, and it's gotten dangerous many times already. Really? The princess tilted her head. Yes, but if you're diligent, nothing bad will happen. Okay. She nodded a couple of times. Ellie will be the diligentest. You're already the bestest, so it should be easy for you. Yep. Anyway, two very important things about using magic are your imagination and being able to control your creations. If you can master both, everything will be alright. Okay. Ellie kept nodding. For example, the ball of water from yesterday, saying so, the blonde created another water ball with a diameter of 10 centimeters above her palm. I thought about the size before it appeared. What do you think would have happened if I didn't? Nothing? The princess looked confused. That's one of the options, but it also could have resulted in this. The ball on top of her palm turned into a tiny droplet. Oh. Right. If there's no size, it can be everything. Ellie understands. Good, but here's another possibility, and the real catch. Sophia pointed up, and a couple seconds later, a massive mass of water formed above them that was many times the size of the island was on. It hovered above them a little while before the tiger let it disappear again. WWAOH. Ellie's eyes grew wide. Amazing. It is, but what do you think would have happened if this amount of water had appeared somewhere inside, like your room? Oh. The princess froze. Not good. Indeed. She just nodded. It could have been even bigger, too. Is Ellie's magic even strong enough for that? You don't really know how strong you are yet, huh? Sophia scratched her cheek. Do you know that Anna got really strong when I gave her some of my magic? Yes. Mama and Papa told Ellie that Anna became the strongest. Besides Faya and friends. Yeah, Anna and Ari became the strongest in the capital outside my group. By far, I have to add. Sophia smiled at her. So cool. Wait, has Ellie also become as strong? You've become as strong as Anna and Ari together. WAOH. She got excited. Really? Really. Sophia smiled at the little tiger. You're the strongest in the capital now? Ellie's the strongest? You've always been, but now you're officially, too. So cool. She was liking her new position. Does that mean Ellie could really make so much water with magic? Much more. The blonde looked right at her. If you want to, you could flood the entire capital. Nah. The princess vehemently shook her head. Do you see now why it's important for me to tell you about the dangers of magic? Why yes, she hung her head. There's no need to be scared, though. Sophia reached over to her and gently patted Ellie's head. Magic is something wonderful and not scary at all when used right. You're very young and able to learn a lot, not to mention very clever. You'll be able to master it without any issues. I'll guarantee it. Okay. The princess cheered up again. Magic, roughly speaking, has 3 steps. 1. Think of what you want. 2. Think of how you want it. 3. Concentrate on it and make it a reality. The blonde held up 3 fingers while doing so. Each of them is equally important. All 3 have to be taken care of to make your dreams come true. Does Sophia also do that whenever she uses magic? Ellie wanted to know how she did it. This is a strictly do as I say, not as I do scenario. The blonde awkwardly scratched her cheek. The difference is that I know how to deal with the consequences of my actions. Every now and then. She only whispered those words. You, at least right now, don't have enough experience to be lenient. Ellie understands. She reacted with a big nod. Good. She smiled at her again. Okay, tell me in your own words what's important with magic. Sophia wanted to see if the princess really paid attention. Imagination, details, focus. Her reply was instantaneous. That's a good start. The taller tiger nodded. As you mentioned details, please add some in your explanation. She felt it was a little lacking. So mean. Is it mean to make sure you understand what it means to use magic, how it works, and avoid hurting yourself and others? Sophia gave her none of it. I can understand you want to get to the action already, but this is important. Okay. There was nothing the princess could say. First, Ellie needs to come up with something she wants to do. Like a ball of water. Then, Ellie has to make sure to think about the details. Like size. Maybe temperature, too? Dirty water? Clean water? Where it should be. All of this, right? Afterward, Ellie needs to concentrate and use magic to make it real? Ellie doesn't really get that part yet. That's a very good explanation. Excellent with the details. The blonde smiled at her. We can get to the concentration part later when we start using magic. That will be the time where to learn that staying focused is important, too. Yay! She was happy she got it right. Afterward, continuing with high enthusiasm, Sophia kept telling her more things about magic, how to use it, and potential dangers for about an hour without going into too many fine details to keep it simple and understandable for the little princess. Chapter 089, Waterball. Sophia took Ellie to her domain again to officially start the magic training of the little princess. As demanded by Kira, the blonde first began by explaining the possible dangers of it and what could happen if one was recklessly using it. Even though Sophia had basically no experience with being reckless and never encountered any danger when using magic, she did her best to convey it to the little tiger to make sure she was safe. Something like that would probably be written down in her memoirs if she ever decided to write them. Okay, Ellie learned a lot. Can we do action now? The little princess had gotten impatient after all the theoretical teaching Sophia had done so far. Ahaha. The blonde let out a small chuckle. I can't promise action right away, but how about some practical lessons to switch things up a little? Ellie accepts. It was a compromise she could live with. Let's go. Should we train more with the ball of water? It's quite easy to explain, and you seem to like playing with it, too. Waterball. It seemed like she liked the idea. Alright, then make one. Yeah? The princess tilted her head. Ellie should? Of course. She smiled at her. You're the one who wants to learn it, right? But we just went over the 3 most important parts of magic, right? Yes. The princess nodded. Ellie has the imagination and details, but no idea how to use powers. Well, why don't you try a few things? She encouraged her. If you have the vision and the details, messing up with that step a few times won't cause too many issues, especially if we're talking about low amounts of water. A little tip. Just imagine you really, really, really want to have some water. So much that you put some force into your thoughts when thinking about it. Like when Ellie wants cake? Sophia paused for a moment. Yes. Yes, that works a lot. She thought that was a much better analogy. Take your feelings for cake and use it on the water you want to create. Okay. Any other questions? Can we get cake when we're done training? Now that she had thought about it, it was too late for the princess. My dear, your birthday was yesterday. Didn't you have a ton of cake? I'm sure you had. So? The little tiger tilted her head. Fair enough. She could follow her reasoning. Sure, let's get some cake when we're done here. Yay. Only if you manage to successfully use your magic to create the ball of water, though. The blonde had to use the opportunity. So, Fia knows how to motivate someone. She sounded the most determined yet. I sure do. Let's go. Having a rough idea of how to do it, thinking about cake, and pretending it's about water, Ellie got to work and started concentrating on the task at hand. Watching her the entire time, the blonde eventually decided to get comfortable under a tree next to her while Blue sat down on her shoulder, as well. How is it going? After around 5 minutes of silence, Sophia tried to find out how she was doing. Not good. The princess shook her head. Ellie still remembers the tingly feeling from Fia's magic from yesterday, but no idea how to make it. Yeah, it's hard to explain. She just nodded. It doesn't help that I don't exactly remember how Fenny taught me, either. It's been a year, after all, and she's very forgetful. I just remember eventually feeling it. The little tiger couldn't do much with that. Blue, can you help her? The blonde looked at the expert on her shoulder. In response to that, the parakeet nodded once before flying over to the princess. It landed on top of her palm, which she had been holding up ever since trying to activate her magic for the ball of water. Oh? The little tiger tilted her head while looking at the bird on top of her hand. Ellie's hand is starting to feel warm. A little tingly, too. Immediately after, Blue relocated to her shoulder. How about you try it again now? Sophia smiled at her. Focus on the feeling in your hand and try to turn it into water. Okay. Nodding, the princess closed her eyes for a moment and did exactly that. Let's go. A few seconds later, she opened them again and stared at her hand. Then, a wobbly mass of water roughly 10 by 10 centimeters big appeared out of nowhere. Oh. The instant her eyes started sparkling, the water collapsed, drenching her hand and the ground beneath. The princess noticed that she lost concentration the moment she succeeded. Yep, that happens. Sophia scratched her cheek while Blue, on Ellie's shoulder, nodded a few times. It worked, though. Congratulations on using magic on your own for the first time. She started applauding, and the parakeet also flapped its wings alongside her. But Blue helped Ellie. The little tiger wasn't convinced about her success. That's not true. The blonde shook her head while the parakeet did the same. Blue just released a tiny bit of magic on your hand to let you feel it. It was already gone when you created the water. It was all your own magic. How does Fia know? I haven't told you yet, huh? I can actually see the magic around me. That's how I can tell what happened. Ellie wants to see magic, too. She immediately got excited about that part. Unfortunately, that's not something I can teach you. Sophia got a little awkward. It's not something you can learn. You either can see it or you can't. I'm sorry. Really? Too bad. The princess took it relatively well. Yeah, but you don't have to worry. The blonde smiled at her. You can use magic even without seeing it perfectly well. Your sister, Ari, Maya, and the wolves can't see it either, but they're all super good at magic. Okay. All you need is to be able to feel it, to use it perfectly well. She gave her a thumbs up. Right now, it's tingly and warm to you, but you'll be able to feel it in detail very soon. Let's go. That's the spirit. Sophia was happy her motivation wasn't broken. Alright, back to your magic. It was a great first try, but you need to work on your concentration so that you can keep it going rather than it immediately collapsing. Ellie will try. She raised her fist high in the air. Okay, try another ball of water while the feeling is strong. The blonde gave her a thumbs up in return. Focus on the tingly and give it a go. However, this time, try to stay concentrated all the way through. Yes. Nodding once, the princess proceeded to stare at her hand for a while. Oh. Ellie can feel the tingly again. Great. The taller tiger smiled at her. That's really good. It means that your connection with magic is growing already. Now, focus on what you want to do and give it a go. Yay. Doing exactly that, Ellie concentrated for a little while longer, and soon enough, another wavy ball of water of the same size as before appeared floating on top of her palm. Oh. Her eyes started sparkling again, but this time, the water continued to float. It wavered quite a bit, but it never collapsed. Nicely done. Seeing that she managed to keep her concentration, Sophia lightly clapped her hands while having a proud expression. Ah. Unfortunately, the praise was enough for the princess to lose concentration, after all. The ball of water immediately lost its shape and drenched her hand, as well as the ground below her once gravity rose back to power. Sorry about that. The blonde felt slightly responsible for that. I think I vaguely remember being in the same position when Fenny taught me. The moment I got some praise, my concentration also slipped. Ellie likes praise, so it can't be helped. She had no intentions of changing that behavior anytime soon. Fair enough. Sophia couldn't blame her. She, too, lives for praise, after all. Alright, just keep going. Eventually, using magic becomes as natural as breathing. Soon, small distractions like that won't matter anymore. More tries. The princess liked the idea and immediately returned to training her water ball skills. Ellie's going to perfect her skills today. Ambitious. I like it. Continuing to hone her water-making skills, the princess trained for around an hour while Sophia tried to distract her every now and then as she was relaxing under a nearby tree to increase the girl's ability to keep her attention and focus on the task. Ellie thinks she gets it now. Sounding incredibly proud, the little tiger presented the perfectly round ball of floating water to Sophia. Time of distraction is over. Should I put more effort into my distractions? The blonde got a little cheeky. I'm at 5% of my power right now. Nah. She shook her head. Ahaha. Sophia had to chuckle at her cute pout. Well, even after that, the water is still going strong. That's an amazing accomplishment and shall be honored. Yay. She got happier again. Also, Ellie has gotten very tired. Saying so, the ball of water in front of her finally dropped to the ground. Magic is hard. You've barely used any of yours, though. Rather, it's concentrating that's hard. Same difference. The princess didn't care about minor details. A good counter. The blonde could follow her logic. Should we take a break? Yes. She reacted with a hearty nod. Ellie wants cake. Cake was promised. Sounds like a plan to me. Sophia agreed with her plan. You managed to use magic and create a ball of water all on your own, so there shall be cake. Yay! Having decided on their course of action, the blonde opened one of her portals, and the two quickly stepped through it to have their well-earned break accompanied by lots of cake to celebrate the little tiger's success. Chapter 090, Serious and Reasonable. Ellie successfully learned her first real bits of magic and successfully created a floating orb of water without any help whatsoever from Sophia or Blue. To celebrate this massive accomplishment, they returned to the cottage to organize some cake that was promised to the princess as an additional reward. Cake. The duo entered the group's cottage inside Sophia's domain, and the princess immediately made her presence known. "You're the best." The blonde was her biggest fan. Eh? Sounding rather confused, Maya and Ari stuck their heads out of the kitchen. "Hey. Sophia waved at the duo. "I promised our little tiger cake if her training went well." "Training went well." The princess gave them a thumbs up. "My dear, your birthday was yesterday." The jaguar lightly shook her head. "There's still lots of cake inside your belly, isn't there?" "So?" Ellie didn't see the issue. "Fair point." Maya saw no flaw in her argumentation. "Oi." Ari glared at her. "Don't enable her bad eating habits." "But cake is cake." The cat girl, who had a big sweet tooth, wasn't on her side. "Exactly." Maya won a lot of points in Ellie's book. "She's earned it, though." Sophia smiled at the jaguar. "Our little princess already managed to use magic without any help whatsoever." Water ball. Ellie was quite proud of herself, too. "Wow." Ari seemed impressed. "Okay, fine, cake it is." In the end, she also felt like this achievement needed to be celebrated. "We don't have any cake here, though. Making one will take too long, too." "To the capital." Maya energetically grabbed the jaguar's hand. "Let's go and buy one." "Yay." Ellie liked the plan. "Just how much do you want cake?" Ari lightly rolled her eyes when looking at the cat girl. Yes. She wanted it a lot. Afterward, she dragged the jaguar away to buy a cake in the capital by taking one of Sophia's portals. "Alright, let's wait in the living room for them." The blonde faced Ellie next to her. "Okay." She simply nodded. "Oh, would you look at that? My favorite sister has come to visit." In the living room, Anna, who had been in there together with Steph and Chloe, greeted the little princess. "Isn't Ellie the only sister?" She tilted her head in return. "That's why you're my favorite. Oh. She seemed to understand her. "Anna's Ellie's favorite sister, too." "You cheeky little. Come on, you did that to yourself." Chloe had no sympathy for her. "Sisters do be sisters." Yup. Steph and Sophia seemed to get it, though. "By the way, how is the training going?" The tall tiger had already discarded the teasing. "I still can't believe my sister's magic awakened this early. I think it took me like 2 years longer. Not to mention that she has like twice your current power already. Sophia had to do it. Ellie's the bestest, after all." The little tiger had an easy explanation and got closer to her sister to show her a V sign with her hand. "True." Everyone except Anna agreed. "You little rascal." The tall princess grabbed the short one and placed her on her lap. "Hey." Ellie struggled for a moment, but once she noticed that she was unable to escape from Anna's arms wrapped around her waist, she gave up. "Fine." Ehe. They totally get along better now than they did before we left the capital, don't they? Sisters sometimes need a time away from each other to notice how close they actually are. The blonde awkwardly scratched her cheek while listening to her sister. "Hit a mark, huh?" Steph just smiled at her. "Ahaha, she only got more awkward." "Well, it's great you get along again." The blonde focused on the tiger sisters instead. "Yes." Anna thought so, too. Could be worse. "Oi." The tall tiger lightly shook the cheeky princess on her lap. "Have you been secretly hanging out with Maya?" "I thought the same not too long ago, too." Sophia also had been outsassed by the little tiger, after all. "So, how's the magic going?" Ignoring the older tigers, Chloe smiled at the younger one. "Amazingly." She smiled back at her. "So, Faya taught Ellie how to make a water ball." "So quick." Anna got loud again. "Why's my little sister so much more talented than I am?" To be fair, You've been taught magic the wrong way for your entire life. Sophia tried to cheer her up. The way it has been taught until now was the worst and needlessly complicated. If Fenny hadn't been my teacher and I'd attended the magic academy like you did, I probably still wouldn't be able to use magic. Ellie never had to go through any of that and is just, well, using magic. So much wasted time. The tall tiger hung her head. Ahaha. Knowing a thing or two about having wasted a lot of time in the past, basically her entire life in the previous world, Sophia returned to her awkward laughter. How much did she learn today? Chloe also got interested in the topic. Water ball. Ellie immediately got excited again. Yeah, I taught her how to create a floating sphere of water. The blonde nodded. That's amazing. Good job. The fox girl praised the princess. Ehe. Did you tell her anything else about magic beforehand, or did you jump right into creating things? The fox was interested in Sophia's teaching methods. I gave her a general rundown of what magic is, and just how vast her new powers really are. Afterward, I made sure to teach her the dangers of magic and how you have to be careful when using it. Everyone except the princess just stared at her. What? The blonde didn't like how they were all looking at her with a condescending expression while lightly shaking their head. I am perfectly capable of doing such things. Do as I told, not as I do, huh? The pink girls seemed to understand her way of doing things. Exactly. Sophia agreed. Also, you three have no right to give me any flack when it comes to the topic of being careful or not. They went silent rather quickly. They chatted about Ellie's magic teachings for a bit longer, but when Ari and Maya returned, the topic was immediately dropped. We've got the cake. The duo entered the living room, and the cat girl energetically announced their arrival. Cake. Ellie was very happy about that. Cake? Anna tilted her head while looking down at her sister. She made me promise her cake when she learns the water ball magic today, and, well, she did learn it. Oh. The tall tiger could follow that logic. Well, it's always time for cake, so I fully support this. Exactly. The little sister was happy she understood the importance of cake. Afterward, everyone got a slice of the chocolate cake Ari and Maya had gotten in the capital while chatting some more. By the way, as Ellie will have my undivided attention for the next week at the very least, does anyone intend to continue the exploration of the outside world, or what's the plan? Sophia addressed the others. We'll be staying in the domain. Anna, Ari, and Maya replied together. Because we're still in the snowy mountain range? The blonde took a wild guess. Because of that. The trio nodded in response. Chloe, Aura, and I wanted to explore more of it. Steph was more open to the idea. We're thinking about recreating a mountain range biome and wanted to get some more inspiration. The fox nodded along. And maybe borrow a few things. The dog girl naturally had some ulterior motives. Sis, can you liberate a mountain for us? She smiled at her with puppy eyes. It won't take long, after all. Just a quick massive portal, and we're good. Alright, fine. Sophia reluctantly agreed. She liked the idea of having a mountain range in her domain, but she had a bad feeling about what those three would turn it into. On one condition, though. Yes? Steph tilted her head. You three will also traverse the rest of the mountain range so that all of us can continue traveling on the other side where there's not even a hint of snow left. A great plan. The other cats supported the blonde's condition. Sure. Chloe had nothing against it. We might be taking our time to enjoy the snow as much as possible, though. We don't care. The cats unionized again. Also, make sure to notify me if you stumble across anything interesting, like that cherry blossom forest that absolutely didn't belong there. Sophia added an extra condition. Of course. Steph, a fellow lover of all things interesting, had no intention of cheating her sister out of such a thing. Thank you. The blonde smiled at the dog girl before facing the little princess again. Ellie. She lazily looked towards her while continuing to focus on the cake she was munching on. We're going to continue your training tomorrow, so make sure to get plenty of rest tonight, okay? Yay. The princess was looking forward to it already. There's one rule I have to give you, too, though. Sophia suddenly sounded a little more serious. You are not allowed to use magic on your own yet. Only when I or your parents allow you to do so. You did well today, but you need to get used to it more first. Soon, you can use magic whenever you want, but only after you get better control of it. It's too dangerous for now. Okay, Ellie sounded a little pouty. If I find out that you broke this one rule, I will immediately stop teaching you and will never return to doing so either. Do you understand? Yes. The little princess reacted with a big nod. Ellie understands and will never use magic on her own until she's allowed. Good girl. Wow. Ari seemed impressed. Serious and reasonable Sophia is always a sight to behold. Shush. She glared at the jaguar. If it's important, I'll be the most reasonable person in this group. Things just usually aren't serious enough for me to care. I wasn't making fun of you, Ari shook her head. It's just that it's a rare side of you, and it's great that you have it. Once the topic was dealt with, everyone finished their cake, and Sophia brought Ellie back home to let her get some rest after an exhausting day. There, she also gave Kira a quick update on the progress and told her she'd pick up the princess again the next day for more training.